So we are here. I'm so excited to have you here. Courtney is my weekly savior. So on Tuesday nights, I get to hang out with her and do her guided breath work and visualization, which I've been loving, by the way. I loved the visualization piece of it before we get into the breath work, which we can talk about because that was really cool last night when you did that. I personally love breath work. I feel like it's changed my mood. I feel like it changes my relationship with other people, with coworkers, with family, with friends. I'm just more centered and grounded. And I feel like, yes, it can be challenging, but it's easy to breathe. It's a lot harder to achieve I don't know, some other things you may try to implement for health and wellness, but to breathe and to use your breath work and to use that to your advantage is just you can take it anywhere, you can do it anywhere, and I think that's really cool. So I wanted to pick your brain as the expert and my guide, and just kind of explain to everybody, first of all, who you are, introduce yourself, and also what is breath work.
Yeah, so I'm Courtney, and breathwork is an umbrella term. So it's a certain modality for healing and meditation. So breathwork can almost be looked as fits. There's so many different forms of, it's like you have Zumba and you have CrossFit and Orange Theory and all that. Well, breath work is an umbrella term for many different forms of breathing techniques. The one that I teach, I would say, is the continuous breathing pattern, the circular breathing. So it's belly, chest, exhale, and it's all through the mouth. So double inhale, single exhale. So there's not really a cooler term to call it right now, but I would just call it circular. And so what it does is that it heals you mind, body, and soul. And I like to say that, in our day-to-day living, we are very smart. We're very smart beings. So we might rationally get over certain things, some traumas in our life. We might just tell ourselves, I'm over that person, they weren't the one for me. So it just makes sense to move on. And maybe you cried one or two times, but then kept it moving. And then all of a sudden you're in a breathwork class and you are just bawling your eyes out and just thinking about like how they left you. That's super normal and common. And it's just because you can rationally understand things, but sometimes your soul hasn't caught up to it. Sometimes that trauma has been living within your body and your nervous system. And it sounds so weird and woo woo, but you don't really get it until you start to do the practice yourself.
Yeah, it is some powerful stuff. um there's definitely been some experiences where I was like, wow, where did that come from? Like, what was I holding on to there that just got released?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's
And
so,
oh, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and what I love about that too is that you're really taking the driver's seat in your healing, and you're able to really feel it physically, because you can feel things in your body when you're starting to release. You might feel it in certain areas of your body, and it totally correlates with the chakra system. So I didn't even really believe in chakras until I started doing breath work. And I'm like, whoa, like I felt something in my right foot. And my teacher at the time was like, oh, it's probably because you're healing things in your childhood and with your dad. And I'm like, what? How'd you know that? You just read my mind, because during the practice, I was thinking about him, just really weird things like that have happened.
Yeah, that is so cool. I've heard that like the left side is your mother, the right side is your father, or something like that, right? When you're thinking about like childhood trauma or different areas of the body. That's so cool that it's all connected. So what does the breathing actually do physically? Like in terms of like, I hear like stimulating the vagus nerve and doing all these different things. Like what does the circular breath work actually do?
It's really like you're hitting that lower belly. So normally when we're breathing, we're doing a lot of shallow chest breathing, which is normal. We should be doing that in our day to day. But with the circular breathing, the breath work, you're really tapping into that lower belly. And so we hold a lot of emotions there. It sounds, again, very weird, but we hold a lot of trauma and emotions down there. And so when we're doing the breath work, we're getting that energy moving and shaken, and we're getting it out of our system. And besides that, you're also increasing your circulation and just getting a lot of juicy oxygen in your body and oxygenating all of your cells. So it's really, really transformative and healing from a cellular level.
Wow. That's crazy. It's just something so simple, but yet so complex and so powerful. So how did you come into your own breathwork practice and then become a teacher for others?
Yeah, it's really funny because I never heard of breath work. I was never scoping it out. I never really meditated before. I was starting to work out a lot at that time when I first fell into it. I was working out, and then on Sundays I was like, I really want to go to like hot yoga and just do a deep stretch. So I went to this yoga studio near my place in LA. And I just went there to do some yoga. And then afterwards, the teacher was like, "Oh, stick around if you want to do some meditation. Just sign up at the front desk for the other class." And I looked at my roommate and I'm like, "Do you want to stay and do meditation?" She's like, "Sure. I've never really done it before. Let's do it." So I'm like, "Cool." So I thought we would just be sitting there like this, like,
um,
yeah, and but no, it was like completely different, like the opposite. So this woman from South Africa breezes through the door and she's like, "Hello, everybody! Like, go lay down and get in the circle. And we're doing breath work tonight." And I'm like, "What?" But she had such a good energy, and she was like a breath of fresh air. No pun intended. And
that's good.
yeah. And so I was like, "All right, we're just like open to it." We're like, what the heck is this? But let's go with it. And I just remember my heart opening up so much in that practice that my hands were like pinned to the floor. I couldn't move my arms or my hands, and I literally could see the color green. I could visualize it within myself, and I wasn't even really into that. I wasn't into chakras or anything like that, but I truly felt my heart open that night. Like, I felt my heart chakra open that night. And if you know anything about the chakra system, green is the color for your heart chakra. So it just completely opened up my eyes to what what you could do for yourself. I just remember feeling elated and so happy, and it rode with me the entire week. And I'm like, I have to go back to this class. So I ended up going back to that class every Tuesday night. I'm sorry, every Sunday night at 8 p.m. It's very similar to my class now, but
Yeah.
it was Sunday nights, and I ended up doing that for consistently for 2 years.
Wow.
And I mean, it just was completely mind blowing. And every time I went in, I was healing something different, and
Yeah.
I was hitting it layer by layer. And it gives me the chills thinking about it. And it was just so beautiful.
You have
And
the benefit of the hindsight now to be able to look at it and see that progression.
oh, girl, I'm telling you, because like breath work, a healing modality like breath work, it doesn't have to be breath work, but if you find something that just really hits different,
Mhm.
that really hits your soul different, I mean, you will grow in ways that you never know you knew you could this lifetime. You become that person, like in mind, body, and soul that you've always wanted to be. Like, that's the best way to describe it. It's like, I never knew I could feel this good. I never knew I could feel this calm and peaceful within my body. That's what it gave me. And that's why after a while of doing it, it had been like 7 years of just doing breath work on my own, that I remember one year I was just like, I got to teach it soon. I have to share this. I'm so passionate about this. I know how beneficial it is.
Mhm.
And I just want to be another person teaching it and spreading it along, like wildfire. And so that's what ended up happening. I ended up teaching, which was also a funny story because it wasn't really planned. I was just like hopping around Asia, staying at hostels and like,
Hopping around Asia.
yeah, it really was. I was just like hostel hopping, and I was in Pi. It's a very hippie community. They're very open, and they're very just like very open-minded to different healing modalities. And the people working at that hostel overheard me just talking about meditation, and they're like, "So do you want to teach the morning meditation class? Because we're tired of teaching it and we feel like you would really love it." And I was like,
Fun.
"Sure." So I ended up staying there for free for a week and just teaching. And then I ended up doing that along the way throughout the other countries I went to, just teaching other travelers. And
In different
that was
countries.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
So they go back home or wherever their new home is or their former home, and they have that they can take with them. And you basically planted these little seeds all across the globe. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a good
How
way to look at it. I didn't
cool.
really think about it like that, but that was such a great it was so amazing because I'm such an adventurer, I'm such a traveler at heart, and I was really teaching my soul tribe. Even though we came from different countries,
Mhm.
our breath connected us. I know that sounds so cheesy, but I was really able to speak with them and like get them to a different level and let them just release a lot so that they can really enjoy their travels. I would tell them, I'm like, you can be in paradise and feel like shit, huh? And everybody was like, yes, because like we are all in this beautiful place. And I knew that some people, because I would overhear people during, breakfast or lunch and everybody's in the dining area. And I
Yeah.
would overhear people venting a lot and, just talking about their problems. And that's normal. I'm not saying that's not. But I just remember thinking and feeling, just observing them like, oh, I know they could so much better, and I know they spent so much time and they worked their butts off to get here. I know they just like saved up their money, they're here, and now they're still taking that misery with them.
Yeah.
And so it was so beautiful. The first class I taught, it was 8 people, and then people told other people, and then the next class the next day was 16 people, and then the next class the next day was like 25 people, and like other people from other hostels came because they heard about it. And that's because like people were feeling good throughout their day. They would come see me at dinner and they would just be like, I had the best day ever. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I have the chills now because like I never helped people like the way I did when I started to teach. And that was just so fulfilling. And it just felt so good to know that I had helped somebody on such a soul level like that. And I think they're still teaching breathwork at that hostel now.
It's incredible. It's that ripple effect. That's just so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you. I want to talk about your adventurous spirit and kind of being unafraid to travel and to try new things and to be new places and maybe to get uncomfortable and just kind of experience different, cultures and countries. But I want to kind of go back to that day when you were in the yoga studio and the meditation class was available, because it sounds like the universe puts you where you need to be at the right time. And because you didn't know about it, you probably didn't have any resistance because you didn't know what to expect. No one had talked to you about it. You weren't like, oh no, breath work's not for me, I've heard about it. You didn't know what to expect. So you were open. What was your life like at that point in time? Like, where were you mentally? Because I feel like it was the right time for you, whether you realized it or not. So I'm always curious to know, like, what were you looking for, even though you maybe didn't know you were looking for it at the time?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful question. Well, I've always been on a track of growth. I've always wanted to understand how I am. I've always been on a track of self discovery.
Mhm.
Um, but at that time, I wasn't so much I remember feeling kind of closed off, vulnerable. I wasn't vulnerable. I'll just put it that way. Like I didn't really like to show myself emotionally too much. I was definitely in a track of, like I said, fitness. I'm like, I wanted to work on my body and like get things in shape. And I also just wanted to feel good in my body. So I was starting to feel good physically, just with working out and everything. And then when I stumbled upon it and I did it, I emotionally felt really good. Like I didn't even think I was like that far behind emotionally. I thought like I've always been kind of outspoken, extroverted and all of that, but I guess I didn't realize that I wasn't honoring my feelings.
Mm.
So that it really taught me that feelings are normal, that we need to just process them. It's called emotions, energy and motion. We got to let it go. Because when I was growing up, was raised in a family where one of my parents would get embarrassed if I cried. He would tell me, stop crying, you're embarrassing me. So I just, also, you're too sensitive. I get told that a lot growing up, like, you're way too sensitive, you're just sensitive, like. But really, now that I'm an adult, these adults that were in my life as a kid, they were actually just very rude and toxic and mean and just saying really inappropriate things.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know how to, as a kid, you don't really know how to respond to that. So for me, it allowed me to release my emotions and let go of grudges and all of that I was holding on to. I didn't even know.
Yeah. I think I can relate to what you said as a child. And I think it's almost because they are uncomfortable, like with emotion in general. So you're making me feel uncomfortable. Stop doing that. Like, you're too sensitive, or you're embarrassing me because I am uncomfortable with emotion because I haven't figured out how to process my own. I think
Yeah.
there's an element of that too. And you kind of like busted through that.
Yeah.
And then take it a step further.
Yeah.
So how did you find yourself traveling and hopping around Asia and in different countries? Like, how did that come about? Right? Had you graduated school? Like, what was the moment where you were like, I'm just going to pack a bag and just go?
It's funny, it's very full circle because I was meditating a lot at the time at the Den. The Den had just opened down the street from my house, and this is where I teach now.
Yeah.
But I was there all the time. I was there every day, and I'd meditate for like an hour, 2 hours, and meditating that much allowed me to really dim a lot of fears and worries within myself. I had always wanted to travel. I had always wanted to grab a camera and just film everything, and explore and get out of America. And so meditating that much allowed me to just like really dim those fears, allowed me to be way more productive in my day. And the doors, like the universe did open up for me in such a way. Like I remember I was just sitting on my couch, and then Southwest had, like, they do this a lot, like the
Yeah.
low fare deals and stuff. But at that time, I had just gotten laid off from a job that wasn't for me. I was a social media manager at the time for TV shows, and it was just not a good fit for me. And
Yeah.
so I got laid off, which was the right move. And
Yeah.
then I had all this time. So I was meditating, and then I was like, this is the time I need to like go after my dreams. So my first international trip was Costa Rica. And I remember before I hopped on the plane, I was very, like, all of this like fear overcame me. And I was like, before I walked into the plane, I was just like, what am I doing? I don't know. And I was alone, like I was traveling solo. And I was like, I don't know anybody in Costa Rica. Like, what if I get killed? Like, who am I to do this? And all of a sudden, like that fear was just smacked on the ground. And like this inner wisdom that came up from my meditations was like, no, like you have been wanting to do this for years. Like, this is your time. And I just got so excited again. Like the excitement outweighed the fear. So the fear was still kind of like swimming there a little bit, but the wisdom that came in through my meditations, through that like mental practice you go through with meditation, just slammed it out of the way and was like, you're gonna have an amazing time. We got you. Like, go live your life. And so that was really like a moment of excitement outweighing the fear and just going for it. And I had the best time ever. I remember feeling so safe there. And I mean, traveling has been so serendipitous. I've met amazing people in the most funniest of ways. And I did, so first was Costa Rica, then I did Mexico for a couple of months. I like flew into one coast, flew out the other. So I just like traveled along that entire way. And that was my favorite. And then right before COVID hit, I actually went to Asia. So I flew into Thailand, and then I went to Laos, Myanmar, and the Philippines.
Oh, beautiful. That's incredible. So are you on this spiritual journey full time where you are no longer kind of trying to fill the gaps with like a 9 to 5? Because I completely feel you with like feeling out of alignment, but not making the change. And then the universe kind of smacks that right back down, to use your words. And it's like, it's almost like, I don't know if you follow Lacey Phillips from
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
Organic, but she talks about the magic dark and being tested. And I have a similar experience. I was 5 months pregnant and I got laid off from the company I was working for. And I should have left on my own 2 years prior and didn't. And what came out of that, not only the birth of my actual son, but the birth of my health coaching business, like something I'd always wanted to do. I was feeling very out of alignment with my job, but afraid to leave. And the universe was like, okay, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it for you. And then you use that opportunity, if you're kind of in tune with that. And it sounds like
Right.
that's what you did. So did you stay that course, or do you find yourself kind of like, did you decide like, that's it, I'm not doing corporate again?
Yeah, at the time I came back from traveling, and I was like, I need to do this. And the thing with I actually hit a really dark period after that because like I got a taste of what I would want my life to be like
Yeah.
24/7. And then to get back into LA into the grind, I was just like very stubborn about like not getting back into corporate that I was like, I'm just gonna do Lyft. So I did Lyft for a year and a half,
Yeah.
way too long, full time. So honestly, that was a 9 to 5,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
and I mean, at the first few months, I was like, this is fun, like I'm meeting all these different people. But
Isn't
then
it
after a while,
music?
yeah, but after a while, it's like I'm on the road all the time in LA, LA traffic,
Yeah.
barely making any money.
Yeah.
I was coming across a lot of people that were, it's just different people. Some are cool, some weren't. That's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
And it was just energy draining because you never know who's coming in your car. And so, and then I would have entitled people sometimes. Like one guy refused to get out of my car, and I was, and
Oh my
he
god.
was yelling at me, and I'm like, I cannot do this. Um,
Oh
but
my
it's funny
gosh.
because I remember I got into my car one morning, and I told myself, this is the last day I'm driving Lyft. Like this is the last day I'm doing Uber Lyft. This
Yeah.
is the last day. I just feel it. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. I was in Burbank driving, and I pulled over to park and drop off some passengers, and this other Uber driver came and hit my car, but nobody got hurt or anything like that. He just scratched the side
Yeah.
and just kind of messed up my front door, and I like smiled. So he did
You're like,
that.
that was a sign.
Oh my God. I just remember thinking like, yes, like I knew, like I was pushed out of this job too. I'm just very stubborn like that, like I never really leave. It's like I got to be forced out sometimes. And
Yeah.
so the guy was so like remorseful. He's just like, I'm so sorry. And I'm just like, no, this is actually a good thing. Like Lyft and Uber have good insurance. We'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
so my car was like it was just damaged to an extent where like it was just best to get the car destroyed and recoup that money and then get a new car. But in the meantime, I didn't have a car. So I was like, I can't drive Uber or Lyft. So I just went through it. I'm just gonna be like super transparent with everybody. I went through a period of time where I was at my lowest financially. And when you're in that survival mode, it's hard to be creative because you're just thinking of money. You're just thinking of, I need to get food on the table and I need to get my bills paid. So I
Mhm.
was in that state for way too long. And then I ended up getting back I was working for a startup, and it was great. I mean, it was very time consuming. I was on call 24/7, but I have to tell you, I learned so much about myself, and also how I work and everything. So I ended up hopping back into it wasn't corporate so much, it was more startup life,
Yeah.
but long story short, I'm in and out of doing that. So I'll have periods of time where I'm able to travel, I'm able to just do my thing, and I'll save my money and stuff like that. And then there's other times where I need to get back into the workforce and get build up that foundation again. So right now, I'm actually about to have an interview after this with a company. So it would be a remote position because right now I'd rather make a little bit more money for myself and fund these projects I'm working on, such as my podcast, such as YouTube channel, and getting content out there that's like health conscious and everything like that. So I'm not able to truly like support myself financially off of my passions right now, but
Yeah.
it's definitely on the track there. And I'm so much more open to being okay with that. Before I wasn't. I was like, no, I'm gonna make this work no matter what. I don't need nobody.
Yeah.
And it was just for me, it was the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
But I learned that about myself, and that's okay to go through that to learn how you work. Because just because that did that for me doesn't mean that isn't going to be the same for somebody else. Sometimes people really excel in that environment where they're like, I got a fire underneath my booty, I got to figure it out now. For me, it was
Yeah.
just like, ah.
Yeah, it's probably almost more paralyzing to have the stress of not having a little bit of that security, where you found the balance between being able to support your dreams and still live out your dreams. So I think it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to be open to also changing your mind. You don't have to be so kind of committed to the intention that you set a year or 2 years ago where I'm never going to work for anybody else. So I think it's important. It's a sign of, emotional maturity to be able to say like, actually, I think I can find a happy medium for now. It doesn't have to be forever, but for now you kind of, I'm sure, have a sense of relief that you don't have to worry so much about, where the food or the bills, how that's going to get paid. And you can still focus on like the things that you are passionate about. So I think that's important.
Yeah, I think adaptability and flexibility, especially if you're a stubborn person like me, when you need to actively work on that, it's good
What is your
to be
sign?
aware. I'm a Leo.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you a Taurus like me?
Oh, are you a Taurus? I
Yeah.
love Tauruses.
That's why we get along so well. So how do you incorporate spirituality into your daily life? I like talking about like daily habits and daily routine, and not so much like hashtag morning routine, which is great. And I have one, but like on the day to day, the things that really make up your habits. How do you tie spirituality into that when you're in LA traffic or working, for someone else, or, running to the ground? Like, how does that fit into your life on the day to day?
Yeah, I think it just intertwines in every step I take. It's just part of who I am. I've always been very spiritual. Um, so this could look like so many things, you know. Um, I definitely think writing for me is really important. So if I'm able to jot down what I'm grateful about, that really is it's like magic for me. I don't know what happens, but I'll like write in a gratitude journal and my whole day will change, you know, and I'll just have a better like perception on things and everything like that. And I'm attracting so much better, and I'm attracting what I want versus what I don't want. Because I think when you become very in tune with who you are and source, you can manifest so quickly. And this could be a good thing or a bad thing. So for me, things can manifest pretty quickly. And I'm not trying to say that to be cocky at all. I'm just saying that like things can manifest pretty quickly for anybody. It
Yeah.
just is a matter of you believing in it.
Yeah.
That's really the key. And not like, but I can manifest in both ways. A lot of the time, sometimes I manifest things I really don't want, and it's like, dang it, I've been thinking about it too much.
And put it out
um
there.
yeah, so I think spirituality in my day-to-day and tangible ways come like definitely writing in a gratitude journal for sure, gotta do that. And if I don't meditate in a day, I feel it the next day. So I really got to meditate, and that could just be a body scan for 5 minutes. For me, I'm very talkative. I love connecting with people. So I am working more out of here usually in the day to day. So when I do a body scan, I'm able to get back into my body and I feel grounded and I can take note of what's happening in my body. Sometimes I can be super like dismissive of it because I'm just thinking of like creative ideas and talking to people. So it's good for me to bring balance into my life that way. And, you know, this also means eating really good food. So I love green smoothies. I'm like a number one fan of green smoothies and just eating your veggies and your fruits. And I'm mainly a plant-based diet. That also helped me open up my third eye. Not to sound weird, but it really did. Like I remember when I started to eat good
Yeah.
and to really honor my digestive system and get things flowing and all that. But to really fuel my body with vitamins and minerals, that changed the game. I mean, that's when I was able to feel emotionally balanced as well.
I love
Um,
that. I love that. I
yeah.
want to know what you put in your green smoothie.
Usually well, right now I'm doing like the baby kale from Trader Joe's and
Uh-huh.
celery and if I feel like it'll put a scoop of like plant-based protein there, and then a frozen banana is so key because you got to get that creamy and like thick texture, and that's usually what I put in right now.
That sounds delicious. I'm all about the frozen banana. I need that ice cream. I want to eat my smoothie with a spoon. Like that's when
Yeah.
it's good. I
Like
love
a
that.
thick.
That's so interesting that you said that, because I don't think people realize the connection between the food and using food as medicine instead of your poison, and how it can impact your mood. I talk about like good mood foods because I think it's like a cute thing to say, but it's so, so true. Like if I have, um, a day where like last week we ended up ordering pizza, like real pizza from a pizza shop. We do that probably twice a year because it makes me feel horrible. Um, but we were just craving it. Might have had a little bit of rosé the day before, so we were just craving
Okay.
pizza. So I woke up in the morning and I had a bagel with cream cheese at the coffee shop. I had leftover spaghetti for lunch, and then I had pizza for dinner. And for about 3 days, I felt like almost like sad. Like I knew immediately it's because of what I've been eating, or rather what I've not been eating. I haven't been incorporating vitamins, nutrients, greens, whole grains, fruits, vegetables. I was missing all of that, and my brain was not functioning the way it normally does. Like my mood was seriously impacted by those food choices. And then I noticed, on the other end of the spectrum, as soon as I start to incorporate my go-tos, it completely changes everything. So
Yeah.
I love that you said that. What did you notice in terms of your third eye? Like, what does it feel like to feel like you've opened up that portal? Because I'm like on this quest, but I don't know. Like, when do I know if I'm there?
You might already be there. I mean, it just for me, I remember feeling like a fog had lifted. That's the best way for me to describe it. I just remember like, oh, like this is how you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel energized after you eat. You're not supposed to feel tired. I remember that hitting me for the first time. And I was like 23. It took me 23
That's good though. Most people at 23 are not eating well.
years.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah,
love
that's the
that.
best way. And I remember feeling less reactive. So I think I was a little bit more reactive before when I was eating bad. I didn't realize it, but I was just like I was always sensitive. I still am. I think we're all human. We are sensitive. I don't think anybody's not sensitive.
Yeah.
But I was just like I was definitely triggered easily um and just more reactive, and I felt just way more calm and peaceful and emotionally balanced.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like and my intuition was on fire. Like I would just feel things a lot more quickly and just know things. Even if people didn't tell me something verbally, I would just kind of understand it. I didn't have to get I didn't have to get their verbal validation for it. It was just weird. It was just like, whoa, I didn't know life could be like this, but I'm here for it.
Amazing. And that's that whole, just like you were saying in the beginning, the balance of body, mind, and spirit. The mind and the spirit, that was probably, in a good place. And then you brought the body and connected the three, and you have this like harmonious kind of, you know, workings, and it just up leveled your entire like perspective. I love that. That's so cool.
And I
Yeah.
know people get so like, like I know people are like, oh, mind, body, soul, so cliche, but it's so true. I mean, you have a physical body, then you have your soul energy body, and you have your mind, and all to be nurtured, and you need to really take care of them because we're sensitive. Every part of us is sensitive, and that's a good thing because it's showing us what we need to refine. It's showing us what we need to just bring more compassion and love to and take notice of.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's cliche because it's said so often, because there's a lot of truth to it, whether someone is open to exploring that as a different story, but there's just so much value to understanding and appreciating that, and trying to balance out those different areas of life.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So for someone who maybe is new to breath work, or has maybe meditated a little bit, but they're, not sure what to expect, what would be your recommendations? How to get started, what to expect, how often to try to practice?
Yeah, all great questions. I would say if you're just starting, if you've never done breath work, I think it'd be great for you to do it in a setting, whether virtually or in person,
Mhm.
depending on your comfort level. Sometimes it's nice to do it at your house but you're still in like in a group meditation class, and it kind of gives you your space and everything like that. But if you can, it is so powerful to do it in person too. So if you can find a breathwork circle or class near and you can physically attend that, I would definitely recommend that. And you can really feel the energy for yourself because when you're with other people, that energy, that healing energy is just amplified. It's like we're tuning forks. It's so crazy. And again, we can talk about this, but you won't get it until you physically do it yourself. And I would recommend definitely doing it at least once a week because if you really do like it. So my recommendation is show up, take the class, and just drop any expectations. Just like come in with an open mind and an open heart and just see if it's your thing or not. And if it's not, that's totally okay, because there's a million different things out there. You can find your way to source, your way to your inner wisdom in so many different ways. And that's the beautiful thing about life. And you should. And me, like, yes, I do breath work, but I also do tons of other things, and it just depends on what you're feeling. But if you do like it and it is hitting your soul different, then I would recommend at least doing it once a week, maybe on a Sunday, or that week, that day for yourself, that you're able to just really focus on yourself. And it's like your self-care day or something. That's what I would do back then. I would use my Sunday as my self-care day, and I would do that at night, and it would just be amazing. It would set me up for my week, and I would feel so collected in myself.
Yeah, I love that. Almost making like a little ritual out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do a little drop of CBD, light a candle, and then I do
Yes.
my tea after. And it's like, it's a whole
Ooh,
experience.
I like it.
Okay, so we have to talk about now tetany, right? That's what it's called, the lobster
Yeah.
claws. So this
Yeah.
freaks me out because before you started to explain it, like this has happened to me even before breath work, and it must be something to do with breathing in certain situations. But like I get it so intensely that like my fingers are like this and I can't even move
Oh.
them. Like they're
Oh.
clawed up, and even if I want to move them, it's almost like they're paralyzed. Like I have to like go like this for a few
Yeah.
minutes, not, not forever, obviously, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
for it's intense. And then you were saying, oh, that's normal. And I was like, oh, there's a name for this. This is what it is. But if someone doesn't know that, they may be a little freaked out, like, what is going on with my body? So what is this?
Totally. Yeah. So tetany, we call it like lobster claws or pterodactyl arms, or just like I can't move my body. And it is a freaky, it is weird. But it just means that your CO2 levels are very low, because when you're breathing, you're inhaling and exhaling, you're manipulating the breath, you're manipulating those CO2 and oxygen levels in your body. So this typically happens when you're breathing too fast, if you're forcing that exhale too much. Because when we're doing a circular breathing, you want to really focus more on the inhale. So I'll demonstrate, like, you breathe into your belly, chest, and then when you exhale, you just naturally let your whole body decompress.
Instead
And
of
then you do it again, belly, chest, exhale. But sometimes people might go, and so when you're doing that, you're forcing that exhale and you're breathing too quickly, and that's when you just get off level very quickly. And so that could be the issue. And so also when you're starting to get those involuntary muscle spasms, which is tetany, and you're unable to open up your hands and everything like that, it could also be an underlying issue with your mineral balance. So
Mm.
sometimes it might mean that you don't have enough minerals in your body, like potassium, calcium, and et cetera, et cetera. So it could be that. So that is like the biological thing. And then I also know, like, some teachers teach the spiritual meaning of that.
Yeah.
So I like to just bring up the two for anybody that takes my class, just for what resonates for them. The spiritual meaning could be that your heart chakra is opening up so much that all this energy from your heart is flooding to your arms and down to your hands. And for me, the first time I did breath work, I felt that was the case. For me, my personal practice, the first time, I was like, I just really felt that heart open up so much, and my hands were just like, they weren't really so much like that. They were just like, I couldn't move them off the ground.
Yeah.
But those are the main reasons of why you might get this. So in order to not get it, or maybe decrease that level of cramping, is probably just to slow down the breathing, and then to focus more on your inhale, and to maybe, you can even take a break. You don't even have to keep doing the breath work if you're feeling it and it's scaring you. You can just breathe naturally. You never want to feel scared. You want to feel like, yes, you're being challenged a little bit, but I never want people to feel so like all that discomfort and needing to push through it. Like, I don't think that's necessary.
That's interesting. I think what you said about the forcing out the exhale in the beginning, when I kind of started taking your classes, I think I was probably doing that. And as I've gone through and continued to do them, that has actually lessened. And it's probably because I've gotten a little bit better at slowing down the breath and getting into that rhythm, where in the beginning I was like kind of learning and figuring it out. So that makes
Yeah.
sense to me, like in terms of kind of what was going on there. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me, but I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is
nice to hear the
weird.
explanation that it happens, it's normal, it's nothing to be like, alarmed by. It'll go back to normal very quickly. But that's so interesting. It's so cool. And it's just another example of how the breath, the mind, the body are all connected.
Yeah.
Things, and you have physical sensations. And my husband, he always feels like he's always like, I feel like we just did like whatever heroin would feel like. And I'm like, yeah, closest we're gonna get.
I know it can be trippy. I mean, I've had past life regressions doing breath
Really?
work. Yeah, and I never even really knew about past life regressions. And it just came about in a breathwork class one night, and it wasn't even the intention, you know what I mean? It was just a general breathwork class, and yeah, I had a past life regression full blown, and I was like, what the
Learn.
heck?
Where
Huh?
were you? Who were you?
I was so in my past life, I was a
Yeah.
Native American woman, and I was running through the forest with my I sound so cheesy,
No,
but
I love this stuff.
I was running through the forest with my lover, like I don't know if we were married or whatever, but he was like like my soulmate, and we're just like running through the forest, like frolicking, pretty much just like making out, like having a good time, and we're just so in love with each other. Like that was the feeling. It was just like, oh my god, it was like puppy love, couldn't get enough of each other. And then all of a sudden it's like the next scene, he's like shot and killed with an arrow, or he was shot from a gun. I couldn't tell, but he died immediately. And then it was almost like scene by scene, like you're watching a movie. And the next scene was just me, like being had a blanket over my body, over my head, and a bunch of other Native American women around me, just trying to console me. And I was just looking straight ahead, like just stone cold straight ahead. And I just remember feeling and thinking, I will never love again like this, because it feels like my heart has just been taken away, and I never want to live my life like this again. I just don't want to, like it was like I was afraid to ever fall in love again. So, and me in this lifetime, I was consoling her, like, it's okay to open up your heart again. It's okay to love. Like, you're going to be safe. Like, she felt so dead inside after her love was killed, So that, I think, like, for me, I think that whole scenario, that whole past life regression came up because at the time, like I said before, I was not being very vulnerable with like the guys I was dating. Like I would have like a distance in a way, like it was hard for me to emotionally connect and on a deep level. I just didn't want to be seen like that. I didn't want to feel vulnerable. And so that session really allowed my soul to open up to being okay to be vulnerable and share myself. And it's okay if I look dumb or whatever, like that I'm lovable, essentially.
Wow.
So that was that past life.
And so you're able to take that now in this life and heal that in a way.
Yeah. And from that night, because when you do breath work, for me, every time I did work, I would always kind of learn something, and it would stick with me. Like it would be something that wasn't just like, oh yeah, I learned this about myself. It would be something that hit me and changed my soul on some type of level, in a good way. It allowed me to progress
Yeah.
spiritually, in ways I didn't even know I needed to progress. And I think that's how it is for you and anybody that takes or does breath work, or any modality that really hits them. Like I keep saying, like hits your soul different. You are able to really shift, and it just hits a different part of your psyche, a part of your the way you navigate your life. So it was one of those pinnacle classes that really allowed me to navigate my love life different in a much better way.
That is incredible. Incredible that you get this ping and this vision and this, kind of memory in a way, and you're able to use that to change your life now in a beneficial and positive way. And it sticks with you. Like you said, it's not just like a really cool session that you had. It's something that changed the way that you approach your life today.
Yeah.
That is insane. Like that should be like the explanation of breath work to everyone, you know, like that power in just manipulating your breath and being open to that. It's just so crazy. It's so crazy to say this is what you're doing and this is what can come out of it. Like it blows my mind. And I think it's so cool that you're able to do this and to share this. And you know, I've learned about it through you, and it's just that ripple effect is so powerful. Like I have like goosebumps talking about all this. I could talk about like I'm so interested in the past life regressions, and also like tapping into that vulnerability and being able to be comfortable in that. I think so many of us struggle with being seen because we're afraid of rejection or whatever it happens to be. Oh, this was incredible. Like I feel like overwhelmed in the best way.
Oh, I know.
So
It was so great talking to you. And I have
where
the chills too.
you what?
I have the chills too.
Yeah, kind of going back through that memory too, I'm sure. It was intense.
Yeah. Yeah. It was beautiful. Yeah.
Where can everyone find you? I know you've got a podcast, you've got the Den on Tuesdays, which I highly personally recommend. In fact, if that's the only thing that you do with your Den membership, do it. But you've also got your Instagram. Where should everyone find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Coco You Loco, CocoYouLoco. And then you can also listen to my podcast. It's called Drop the Gems Podcast. And I interview different people it should be every week, but I've been kind of like doing it every other week or like maybe once a month. But you know, the whole premise of that is to interview really fascinating people about them dropping their gems of wisdom on how to live a good life, mind, body, and soul. And yeah, or you can just email me, CourtneyJolander@gmail.com. And I hope to see any and all of you at the breathwork class. That'd be amazing. It's every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. virtually. And yeah, that's how you can get in touch.
Awesome. I'll put links to everything in show notes on the website as well. And then if anyone has any questions, they can always email me as well. But I will hopefully see all of our listeners on Tuesday nights.
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't that be great if we had like this whole new group? But truly life changing. Like there's nothing that I've stuck with that has actually impacted my life in such a powerful way. Like it's just, and that's why I was so excited to be able to chat with you and to kind of pick your brain a little bit more, because like you, I want everyone else to know about this. I want them to be able to benefit from it and to have that experience and to know that you can feel this way, you can feel different, and you can feel better, right? That's all we want, is to just feel better.
Exactly. You can feel better. No matter how you're feeling right now, there's a different level you can hit, and you're going to be able to find that relief for yourself. Like I never want people to think like that they're always going to feel a certain way. Like they might feel stuck for a long time, but just know that that can be shaken up a little bit in the best way. And you can hit these levels within yourself that you never thought was possible. It's possible. And it's so beautiful.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. I love this. I appreciate this so much. And hopefully everyone comes and finds you and we see them all Tuesdays, or at least try some breath work on their own. Thank you. I appreciate this. This was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. I know that'd be so cool to see Kristen's like posse from your whole group come. That'd be so cool.
Yes, I know we have our regulars too on Tuesdays, so we can just add some people, which is nice. I like that little like sense of community too, when I recognize some of the names, even though we're virtual. Like it's nice. It's nice.
It is. It is definitely.